Hey there, it's Colin here from The Podcast Host, and today we're looking at podcast hosting platforms. What are some of the best podcast hosting platforms out there for 2022? And I'm going to show you 3 of our best free picks as well. So let's take a look. What's the best podcast hosting site? Or, where should I host my podcast? It's definitely a couple of the biggest questions we get on our website. Alongside that, why does the sound of my own voice make me want to die? Well, I can't help you with your voice, I'm afraid, but we can definitely show you where to host your podcast. Now, this is a funny one because it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all choice. There's so many hosting options out there and some really good ones as well. Many different options, many different features, many different strengths and weaknesses. So through this video, I'm going to show you some of the best options out there. Hopefully find the one that will fit you the best, okay? Now, we do have a list of just about every hosting platform out there over on our article on the website. Just go over to thepodcasthost.com/host. thepodcasthost.com/host, and you can get the full list with all of this noted down. But let's look at it now. Let's look at it in this video. Let's find out what some of the best podcast hosting platforms out there are. First up, we've got Captivate. Now, Captivate are definitely one of the best options out there for hosting right now. They were initially touted as a growth-oriented podcast host, and they've got plenty of growth tools in there, but they've got so much more now as well. So Captivate, some of the main features, they let you have unlimited shows for 1 monthly fee, unlimited team members as well. They've got a great set of websites. One of the things I like a lot about Captivate is their website. You can set up a site for your podcast that's under a certain domain name, and there's so many customization options in there as well. So many ways that you can make that site your own, move things about, really make it work for you. And the growth tool's in there too. So having a trailer, being able to be pinned at the top, or the mailing list, you can have your email mailing list in there, an opt-in form right there on the website as well. So many more options than most of the other podcast hosting sites out there. Now, another thing they do is dynamic ad insertion. They've got their custom tool called AMIE, A-M-I-E, which does a lot of audio processing and can insert your ads right into your episodes as well. So you can create a couple of podcast ads, you can have them automatically inserted to your full back catalog, something really nice that Captivate does too. And Captivate also integrates really well with Alitu, our own podcast maker app. Alitu, alitu.com, as you know, is a podcast maker app. So you can use Alitu to create your show, record your calls and create your show, and then upload it direct to Captivate, where Captivate will take that file and will publish it for you. And Captivate has the API keys and everything inside there, so you can integrate the two, so that it's really no fuss to do that whatsoever. A couple of final things to mention on Captivate. They do private podcasting really well. So you can set up a private podcast feed for maybe an internal show within your company, or maybe it's something like a membership site as well, maybe something like that. So Captivate, really good for that private podcasting piece as well. And the final thing worth mentioning is their podcast network tools. So they let you set up a podcast network right inside the Captivate interface, which is really interesting actually, because if you run more than one show, or maybe you've got a few people that run a set of shows together, you can set up that network right there inside your Captivate interface and have it going out through Captivate. Captivate's priced on a downloads per month model, as a lot of the newer hosts are as well. So they do $17 per month for 12,000 downloads. It's $44 per month for 60,000 downloads, and $90 per month for 150,000 downloads. For the vast majority of podcasters, you're going to fall within that $17 a month and not go beyond that until you get really successful, of course, later on in your career. But that $17 per month tier will do you for ages, most likely. A lot of podcasters, you can live within that, so that's probably the most you'll pay. Now, the next host we'll look at is Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout, one of the old guard of podcasting these days, been around for a long time and a great service as well. It's one of the most simple to set up. I love Buzzsprout and how the interface is so simple, lets you import shows from elsewhere or set up a brand new show right inside Buzzsprout as well. And it's also one of the lowest cost services as well. The basic service being only $12 per month for unlimited downloads. Although if you do hit super success, most likely you'll have to move up to a custom tier. But for most podcasters, you're $12 per month. There's a few add-ons within Buzzsprout. You've got Magic Mastering, which is an audio processing tool, so they can clean up your audio, do some automatic cleanup, make you sound a little bit more polished. That's a little bit extra, about $5 last time I looked, I believe. And other things Buzzsprout stands out on for me are their embeddable players. One of the nicest in the industry, I think, actually. So if you do embed players from your podcast hosting site and put it onto your own podcast site, your own blog, anywhere else at all, I think the podcast players from Buzzsprout are really good. And they also have a unique listeners stat as well. I won't actually mention stats much in this video because stats are kind of a given in podcasting these days. You know, you do get some hosts which are IAB certified, but actually all of the ones that we're talking about here, I think, conform to that. Captivate certainly are IAB certified, but stats are pretty good in pretty much all the services these days. But Buzzsprout do have a listener stat, which is great actually, because it does kind of predict how many actual listeners you have as opposed to just how many downloads you're getting every month. So it's quite an interesting little stat there. And another feature I love in Buzzsprout too is they have a video clip feature whereby they can capture a video clip from within an episode. You can define where you want a video clip taken. So you can define a 1 minute section, anything up to 1 minute, I believe. You take that, it'll put a little background on it, and a sound wave, make it look good, put a picture on it, a little title, and you can use that for social. You can use that anywhere else as well. So Buzzsprout, really good option for hosting as well. And just to add, Buzzsprout also does dynamic ad insertion as well. So you can actually upload your ads in Buzzsprout too, just like you do with Captivate, and it'll insert it into your current episode and your back catalog too. So you can advertise your own shows, your own offers, or you can put in sponsor slots that offer that dynamic ads sort of approach going right into your back catalog. In terms of pricing, Buzzsprout does have a free tier, so you can try out podcasting with Buzzsprout quite simply. You get your uploads, but the way it works is that it actually drops off after 90 days. So you upload an episode and it'll be live for 90 days, but anything older than 90 days drops off. So it's not really practical for real podcasting because a podcast, you want your content to be, available forever. But all you're moving up to after that is the $12 per month tier. And from there, you get up to 3 hours uploads. That's the limit actually with Buzzsprout is time. So as long as you're under 3 hours per month, which is an hour and a half, 45 minutes, 4 45-minute episodes, a weekly episode at 45 minutes, that'll do a lot of people. Then you go up to 18 for up to 6 hours per month. So if you do a bit more extensive shows or more often podcasting, go up to 18. And like I said, things like the Magic Mastering is a little bit extra, so you just pay an add-on for that if you think it's required for you. Now, if you do want to sign up to Buzzsprout, go over to thepodcasthost.com/host and you'll get our blog post that shows all of the details here. You get a $20 free Amazon gift card if you go through our site. It's an affiliate deal we have with Buzzsprout, so we do get a commission for that, but helps to support this content, helps to support everything we do, and you get a $20 gift card too at no extra cost. So if you fancy doing that, go over to thepodcasthost.com/host. And just to say as well, Alitu integrates really well with Buzzsprout as well. So if you do go with Buzzsprout, you can again record and edit in Alitu and publish direct to Buzzsprout if you choose. The next one I'll mention is Castos. Now Castos, another really well-established host, been around for a while, has a lot of the same features, all of the good standard stuff like stats and websites and embeddable players, all that kind of stuff. The thing that makes Castos stand out for me really is if you run a WordPress website or they're private podcasting. So let's go into those two specifically. So if you do run WordPress and run your podcast off a WordPress website, Castos actually owns the Seriously Simple podcasting plugin. So it integrates really well with that. You put that plugin into your WordPress website, and then you can set up your podcast to run through WordPress and really just integrate with Castos to do the actual hosting side of things, run your stats and things like that. So it makes it super easy to create a blog post, pop a podcast episode into there, if that's the way you go about it. So if you're WordPress based, Castos might be a great choice for you. Castos too specialize in private podcasting, and they can run that through WordPress and a range of other plugins as well. They integrate with lots of other tools around membership sites and stuff like that. So again, if you're looking to do private podcasting, Castos could be a really good option for you because of the range of options they offer to really run that private podcast and deliver it to either your membership group, people that pay you for a subscription for that podcast, or if it's an internal company podcast, that kind of thing. So again, private podcasting, another area that Castos stand out. So again, Castos, really well established, good podcast host. If it's WordPress or private podcasting, could be worth a look specifically at them. Castos also integrates well with Alitu, so you can record and edit in Alitu and publish direct to Castos without having to log into all the different systems too, so just so that you know that. Now, pricing wise, Castos prices by downloads per month, similar to Captivate. They are $19 for their lowest tier, goes up to $34 in the middle, and then up to $49 for their higher tier for hosting. So similar kind of, well, slightly different pricing actually from Captivate, but yeah, you can go over and check out the downloads you're allowed for those tiers, but the $19 again really suits the vast majority of podcasters. So that's kind of your entry level, is that $19. And again, if you want to get a special offer, a free month on Castos when you sign up, pop over to thepodcasthost.com/host and you can sign up through our link there. Now, the next one to mention is Transistor, transistor.fm. Another host, well established, which has been around for a while, does really good quality, just overall podcast hosting, great customer service as well, really pride themselves on that. And one of the things that stands out to me in Transistor is they've got a really good set of players, again, kind of like Buzzsprout, but an even bigger range actually, going from including things like a dark mode player, stuff like that. So if you really pride yourself on the look of your players, if you use an external website to host your podcast, then Transistor's players could be a really big bonus for you. Another thing they do well is private podcast feeds. They've got some great features around private podcast feeds, again, to run a community site or an internal podcast for your company, something like that. Transistor have all the tools you need for that. And their podcast websites as well are actually really nice. They have a tool, in fact, to create a podcast website from any feed. So even if you don't host with Transistor, you can use their podcast website creator to actually create a website based on your feed to advertise and promote your podcast. Transistor's pricing is based on monthly downloads again, so it's at $19 per month. We're seeing a theme here. That's for 10,000 downloads. Then you've got $49 per month for 50,000 downloads and $99 per month for 100,000 downloads. So in the same kind of region as Captivate. Again, $19 will do most podcasters. So that's kind of a starting point at least for your the start of your journey with Transistor. But really, Transistor, great little podcast host, great service. The guys behind it are really good too. So it's a good choice. So if you want to sign up, go over to thepodcasthost.com/host. You'll see all the details of the host there and you can sign up through our link. So there you have it. That was 4 of the best podcast hosting platforms out there. From Captivate, Buzzsprout, Castos to Transistor. If you pick any of those 4, you will not go wrong. They're all really good services, really good feature sets, and great people behind them as well. Now, what I want to mention here is that Alitu as well. I've mentioned Alitu, our podcast maker tool. We've actually just released hosting in Alitu as well. Now, it's pretty standard, kind of stock standard hosting at the moment. We include stats, we include podcast websites, players, all that kind of stuff. Once it's public, it's in beta testing right now, but if you're watching this video, it may well be public. You can go over and check it out at alitu.com. But the benefit really in Alitu and the hosting in the early days is that you get hosting built into the service for editing, for recording, and for publishing to that. So you'll have an all-in-one where you can do your call recording, you can do your solo recording. It gets all your audio cleanup from noise reduction to leveling to just making you sound great. Then you can do all your editing right in there too, a podcast custom editor that just makes it super easy. Build your episodes, drop in your adverts, drag and drop interface where you can put together all the segments, and then the Alitu hosting at the end will distribute that. It'll create the RSS feed and it'll help you manage your stats, and it'll help you with your players, and it'll have a website as well where you can actually advertise your podcast there. And we plan to build out that hosting with lots of other features in future too. To start with, it'll be built into Alitu. It won't cost much more than the Alitu service at all. So if you want to check that out, by all means, please do go over to alitu.com, alitu.com, and check out the hosting there and what state we're at, because we'll be developing that so much over the next 12 months. So I'd love it if you could check that out too. So Podbean are one worth mentioning. Podbean, one of the oldest podcast hosting platforms out there. One particular feature of them is they've got a sponsorship marketplace, which is a really useful way to find sponsors for your podcast. So good quality host, decent service, Podbean, decent choice as well. Then we have Spreaker. Spreaker are a host, again, have been around for a while, but their big feature was they always had an app, which was the Spreaker recording app, which let you record directly into your computer with a live mixing board. So you can kind of insert sound effects and stuff like that. But even outside of that recording feature, Spreaker, just a good, really reliable, well-featured host if you come across them and like their features as well. Spreaker are interesting in that they price a little bit differently. They price only at $7 to start with for 100 hours of audio storage. So it's more on size, 100 hours of audio storage. And if you pay more, you get up to $20 per month, and that gets you way more audio storage at 500 hours. So it's a funny pricing model, but that might suit people who actually have more podcasting volume, I suppose. If you need a lot more storage, if you need a lot more time, rather than basing it on monthly downloads, maybe that'll suit you. Now with Spreaker, one thing worth mentioning is their podcast distribution platform. This is something that is included in nearly any host. So Captivate, Buzzsprout, Transistor all have great podcast distribution. But Spreaker's one was one of the early of note, and it's still good. So they can get you out to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, and all the rest. So if you're really looking for something that is, podcast distribution platform forward, then Spreaker, good choice. Next, we've got RSS.com. Very well named, RSS, gives you your RSS feed. All the standard features, nothing sort of stand out, I suppose, but just well priced, good service, RSS.com. And now we have two of the oldest, most established hosts as well. You've got Blubrry.com, B-L-U-B-R-R-Y, and Libsyn.com as well, Libsyn. Two of the oldest guard, like I said, they've been around for the longest time. Libsyn have been recently improving their service a fair bit as well to catch up with a lot of the newcomers who have leapfrogged them perhaps in terms of features. And Blubrry similar as well. So if you've come across either of them, you couldn't find a more experienced team, certainly. So Blubrry and Libsyn, certainly worth a look if they've been recommended to you. So let's dig into free hosting now. Is free hosting a good idea? Well, I think there's a place for free podcast hosting. It's for testing the waters, it's for dabbling, it's for seeing if you actually like the process, if you enjoy making a podcast, because not everyone does. So you might not want to invest money just to figure that out. So if it's your early days, your first 5 to 10 episodes, perhaps free hosting could be an option. But just bear in mind, you know what they say, if you're not paying, then you're the product. So many of the free podcast hosting platforms have either quite big limitations, or they might add adverts to your podcast, or some kind of other, drawbacks to having free podcast hosting. But let's look at 3 of the best options out there if you want to dabble in free podcast hosting before upgrading to one of the great paid services that we've already talked about. So the first one I've already mentioned is Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout do have that free tier. Like I said, you can upload, 2 hours per month. So there is a limit. So you can only go 30 minutes per episode if you're doing weekly, an hour if it's bi-weekly. So you can upload that 2 hours per month. And it also disappears after 3 months. Okay, so not ideal because you want that podcast to be permanently available. But like I said, if you're just dabbling, if you're just testing for the first month, the first 2 months to see if you like podcasting, it can be fine actually. Put out that 30-minute show for a couple of months under the free tier and then upgrade to paid after that, if you so choose, if you decide you like it. So Buzzsprout, good free option as long as it's just testing the waters in the early days. Now the second option is Podbean. Mentioned Podbean briefly earlier, but Podbean's free tier is almost the opposite to Buzzsprout. It doesn't take things offline, so you can post your audio and it'll be available permanently, but there's a limit on what you can upload. So it's 5 hours of audio maximum forever, okay? So you can't upload more than that. So again, that might take you through your first couple of months, 5 hours worth, maybe 30-minute weekly show. It'll take you up to 5 hours, maybe within 2 to 3 months. So you can dabble in the early days with Podbean. Now, I do like Buzzsprout a bit better as a podcast host. That's why we mentioned that in the top 4. So if you do want to kind of just dabble with the intent to upgrade, if you keep with it, probably recommend Buzzsprout better. But with Podbean, like I said, it stays online permanently. So if you think you might want to just dabble in the first season and then leave that on long term just to see how much of a reaction it gets or something like that, then Podbean's approach could be, could fit you well. Last up under the free podcast hosts are Red Circle. So Red Circle's approach is that they are just an entirely free podcast host, but they want to promote you, they want to encourage you to monetize, and then they take a cut of your monetization. So they want to encourage you to either set up donations or sponsorships or dynamic ads to, run automatically generated ads, that kind of thing. Or they want you to run subscriptions or something like that. They've got loads of tools in there for monetization. And they don't charge anything for the service itself. But as soon as you start making money off your audience, as soon as people start donating or start sponsoring or anything like that, they take a cut of that money. So in the early days, obviously it's free. You're not making much money anyway, so that cut is not big. So maybe that's a good option for you. But later on, if you do intend to turn this into a professional show, then maybe you're going to make a decent bit of money. And then the commissions that Red Circle charges could actually be relatively high. So go and check out the commission structure. We've got a link to that in our hosting article. Just go over to thepodcasthost.com/host, and then you can find that there. And you'll be able to see if it suits you, whether that commission structure might fit you. Bear in mind, if they're constantly free, if it's always free, again, you're the product, so they'll be pushing you to monetize, and there could be some limitations in there that encourage you to monetize over time. So bear that in mind, that they don't necessarily want people just being free and not earning any money over time. So it's worth keeping in mind before you sign up for a service like that. Often it's worth paying a little bit extra to get a completely free open service that's reliable and working for you, rather than trying to monetize you as a host. So there you have it. That's all of the best podcast hosting platforms out there. I hope that was useful to you. I hope you found something that suited you. Please do remember, if you want more of this, click the bell icon. Make sure you get the alerts that will tell you when new videos come out on our channel, and subscribe as well. Please do join our community. You can find links to all of the resources in the description below as well. And remember that article to thepodcasthost.com/host if you want to go over and get a summary of all of this, see all of the detail, find all of the links, any of the discounts that we've negotiated with any of the hosts as well. You'll find that all over there. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Hey,